Well, to debate this, let's go to our guest now in New Delhi. Salman Soz is a member of the opposition Indian National Congress Party, and Sudesh Verma is a spokesman for the ruling BJP. Gentlemen, I thank you very much for joining us on the Newsmakers. Salman, let me start with you. Is this universal basic income plan from Congress basically a gimmick, promising handouts ahead of an election?
Well, first of all, it's not a universal basic income. So what we are proposing is a minimum income guarantee for the poorest people in the country. So universal would be for everybody, including some of the wealthiest people in this country. And that's not what we are proposing. And it's certainly not a gimmick. I think people have, over the last 5 years of the Modi government, people have taken a massive hit, especially in rural areas. The poorer communities, small and medium enterprises are suffering. The government has, launched what is called demonetization, which led to a huge cash crunch in this economy. Also launched a terrible indirect tax called goods and services tax. That has had a contractionary impact. So people are suffering, and the Congress Party has to. And any government has to look after its people, and I think it is time for us to at least provide some dignity to the poor of this country. Of course, they need to do their work anyway. This is not going to be a full income. This is just going to be a floor. So we want a social protection floor because the government has failed them, and we need to kind of help them rise back up.
Okay, so Sudesh Verma, we had a lot of people from the BJP saying, where's the money going to come from? This is nonsense from Congress. But the BJP itself has announced a whole lot of measures which are, in many ways, somewhat similar, right? $13 billion allocated for payouts for farmers, pensions for informal workers such as rickshaw drivers, pullers, tax relief, incentives, and so on. So aren't you both trying to answer the same question? Clearly, there's a problem of poverty, which everybody knows there is, and they're trying to come at it from one angle, and you're trying to come at it from another.
You see, let me give you statistics of our last. We have been in power. The poverty was at 30 to 31%. Now it has come down to 5% in India, which is a massive thing to have happened in a country. You see, the then Prime Minister, late Rahul Gandhi, who belonged to the Congress, had once said that only 15 paisa of the rupee comprises 100 paisa, goes to the actual beneficiary. And
so
85 paisa is
just 1 second. So poverty based on what metric? What's the baseline? What's the baseline metric?
I'll tell you. It's 137 rupees. 137 rupees. You see, it's all universal standards, it's world standards. You see, what I'm saying is, they said, because why it has come down, you must understand this. Because we have been able to take the government benefits to them directly. We have created a system by which loopholes are plugged and 100% of the subsidy is reaching their accounts. So this has empowered them. Government has come out with an insurance scheme, which is the backbone, which gives a kind of social security which was never available before. The government is giving the poor BPL families, we call it gas, gas stoves to them. We used to use firewood, and it used to cause a lot of pollution also and harm their own lives as well.
Let me ask you from a different perspective, Sudesh. Sudesh, let me ask you from a different perspective then, right? So what is the problem with what Congress is proposing? They're not saying it's universal basic income. They're saying for the poorest people, they want to have a baseline. They want to have a foundation so people don't slip into extreme poverty. Do you have a problem with that?
No, the problem is that Congress is promising something which the Congress doesn't know what the scheme is all about. On an election year, you can promise the moon because you know that you are not going to come to power the kind of popularity Mr. Modi has. They know it, so they can promise anything. I can take you example of Gujarat. The Congress promised everything, one house to every poor, and they got registered also, those voters. But they never won because people know that the Congress cannot deliver. What happened in Madhya Pradesh? They promised that they are going to waive off the loans. But what has happened? It has become a big scandal. So you can promise anything. You promise Garibi Hatao,
Sudesh, and Salman, I'm gonna come back to you in a minute, right? But Sudesh, let me just for clarity, right? Because you're saying the policies over the past few years have been successful, and you're saying that Congress is being desperate by just promising things. Doesn't it sound as if the BJP is doing exactly the same thing in election year by allocating $13 billion in this budget for what can be deemed handouts for farmers, for rickshaw pullers, and for those within the BJP base? If the economic policy was so good over the past few years, why this desperation now?
You see, more than 90% of the people are in the unorganized sector. And something must be done to organize them. You see, if you see our budget, there is a pattern. In one budget, it was a rural budget. More than 50% of the allocation was done for rural areas. I'm talking about the last budget where 14,34,000 crore of rupees we allocated for rural areas, for creating rural infrastructure. We came with Ayushman Bharat, never before in the world such a healthcare scheme. So we have come out again and again with various schemes. When we have the money, you see, you can do so only when you have the money. You cannot promise without allocation. So we have allocated the money. We have seen our resources, and we found that there is enough resources to grant such a thing. We'll do that. And tomorrow, if we have more money, say thanks to the economy which is growing at 7.3%, if we have that much of money, then we are going to increase it further. We have given to farmers 6,000 rupees, per year. This is going to enable them to take care of the basic things like buying seeds and taking care of the markets.
So let's get a response from Salman. Okay, Salman, come in.
So, whenever you hear something from the ruling BJP, basically you should take it with a spoonful of salt. These guys are purveyors of fake news. And let me tell you how. Just what the BJP spokesperson was saying on poverty, for example. And you asked him a very good question. What is the metric? How do you, is it comparable data? First of all, when our government left, in the 2011-2012 survey, the poverty rate was listed at 21.9%. Okay. Since that time, we haven't done a comparable survey. What he's referring to is a methodology organized by the Brookings Institution in Washington, which is a think tank, and they've come up with something which says poverty is declining. And of course, poverty is declining. It was declining before. In fact, in the 10 years that the Congress ruled before Prime Minister Modi's government came in, 140 million Indians were lifted out of extreme poverty. Now, obviously, they won't tell you all that because they're purveyors of fake news. This whole idea that this economy is doing amazing things and it's growing at 7 to 8%, as he was saying, and you asked him again, you asked him a very good question. If things are so rosy, why do you need to actually give out handouts to farmers? And I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you why specifically about farmers, because farmers are a big community in India. Almost 50% of our workers, are employed in the agricultural sector. What happened was that in 2014 and 2015, which were the first 2 years of the Modi government, we had drought in India. So farmers were suffering, and of course, no fault of Mr. Modi because there was drought. We didn't have enough rain. Then in 2016, as the economy was recovering, what Mr. Modi did was he did something called demonetization, basically withdrew 86% of the currency in circulation by value. That in a country which essentially runs on cash. So, of course, I don't know which jokers gave them this idea, and Prime Minister Modi, without consulting his expert, and he had some good experts in his government, not consult anybody, did not consult the finance minister, did not consult the chief economic advisor, did not consult the governor of the Reserve Bank of India, nobody. And they did this. And basically, what do you expect? Of course, the economy is going to suffer.
Okay, so
and
let's get.
2017,
hold on.
In 2017, they had this the GST, and that created another problem for the economy. So right now, the farmers are saying, we are done with you. And in fact, the 3 states went to election recently. They lost all 3.
Okay, so let's ask Sudesh for a response. Sudesh, the argument.
Now they give the farmer 17.5 rupees per month, which comes basically about 3.5 rupees per family member in a farming community.
Okay.
That is what they're offering them. It's a slap in the face, and the people, the country, and the farmers in particular are sick and tired of them.
Okay, so let's bring in Sudesh. Sudesh, so the argument is you guys are responding to self-manufactured problems of bad policy over the past few years. Respond to that.
Okay, let me first come to the political situation. That will give you answer to most of the things what he has said. If we were doing that bad, if demonetization has been that bad, if GST has been that bad, it has impacted negatively. Our economy would not have grown. And politically, these people would not have joined hands to dethrone Mr. Modi. If Mr. Modi was unpopular, if our policies have been unpopular, then Mr. Modi will go down in any case. So why to come together and try to dethrone him? Because you know that he has delivered to the people and people are with him. And all these people are ganging up because they want to hide their acts of omissions and commission which they committed when they were in power, and they thought that when Mr. Modi comes, nothing is going to happen to them. And you see, statistically, if you see what we used to talk, the whole world used to talk about black economy, parallel economy, running India. So for checking that, we had to go for demonetization. And only a Prime Minister of Mr. Narendra Modi's stature, who had complete trust in the people, could take such a step. The banks were not having money, and these people of the Congress, they used to give loans to their cronies on phones without any collateral. And this has happened with the banking system. So we brought a lot of accountability in the system. And because of our various acts which we have brought in, because of the law we have brought in, legislations we have done, today, the ease of business, we have jumped almost half of what the rank was. The whole world is talking about India is a development story. We are growing at a faster rate than China. And now that the economy is taking off, the Congress knows that nobody is going to support them. So they'll try to, but we are very confident that we are going to come back to power with a thumping majority, more seats than what we won in 2014.
So, Salman, they're trying to clean up the corruption and the heavy, sludgy bureaucracy that they inherited from you. That's the claim.
Well, like in everything, like I said, the BJP has every right to make that claim. They have every right to say that Prime Minister Modi is so popular that he's going to win hands down, and why do the opposition parties have to come together? The reason the opposition parties have to come together is because the BJP is fundamentally damaging our country, our constitutional democracy. And by the way, remember that the Prime Minister's party is in alliance with scores of parties. I mean, they're a big alliance as well. But the Prime Minister himself, through his party, they have all the political muscle, they have all the power of investigative agencies, and they basically control all the media, and they're still losing. That's the beauty of Indian democracy. In spite of controlling everything, in spite of controlling all levels of power and the media, they're still losing. Now, they talk about how the Congress has had all this, black money and corruption and all this stuff. They've been in power for 5 years. Not a single person has been convicted. Not a single leader of ours is convicted. If it was so black and white, then they could have done it. They've failed to do it because they have no case. On the other hand, their government is embroiled in one of the biggest corruption scandals in the history of independent India. The Rafale fighter jet, which is produced by France, supplied by France. We had a deal to buy 126 fighter jets from Dassault. And what happened? The Prime Minister Modi changed the deal at the very last moment. Instead of getting 126 fighters that we needed, signed a deal for 36 fighters, and in the process, actually helped one of their friends get business worth billions of dollars. Okay. See, there's a reason. I don't know if you guys read the Oxfam report on global inequality. What does that report say? That 9 individuals in India own as much wealth as 50% of the country's population. And by the way, inequality in India has been growing. It has been growing over time. Sure. It grew even under our time.
But certainly, but some of the arguments also that certainly the arguments also that inequality has been growing worldwide in the United States, in India, in the UK, and so on and so forth, right?
I agree, I agree. That's exactly what I'm saying. It was growing under our time too. But if you notice how wealth has shifted in recent years, in the last 5 years, what their methodology is very simple. Let us get together with a few business houses, let's create oligarchies, and let us control this country through media and money power. Unfortunately for them, people had high expectations, no doubt about it. Even I had high expectations. But this government totally failed, squandered a unique opportunity to transform the Indian economy, and they're going to pay at the ballot box. They're going to lose this election, I guarantee you.
Okay, Sudesh, come in.
You see, it's very interesting. If you do your own research, you will find the truth about Rafale. No less than the Supreme Court, India has attested to what we said, and that nothing wrong has been found out. So one lie which the Congress president spreads, and everybody speaks. Please don't intervene. I did not intervene when you were spreading the lies. But when you do your research, you will find out the truth. We have tried to bring the system back to where it should be. There should be transparency. There should be accountability. And you must know that whatever
the jobs report. Can I ask you? You say transparency and accountability. So we have 2 top statistics commissioners resigning in protest over what appeared to be a concerted government attempt at gagging the jobs report. Why does the government have something to hide?
this gagging thing is perception. It's not reality, because you will have to prove that actually the government took that decision. This is the perception which the opposition is trying to create. You see, on job front, I can tell you up front that when the economy is growing so fast, then do you think that jobs will not be created? Has it ever happened that economy will grow and job will not grow? Yes, even if you're talking of government jobs, of course, jobs are not growing in the government sector, and jobs are growing in the private sector. When we have given 14 crore of individual loans to private entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs, then they are definitely going to create job in the unorganized sector. And when these statistical institutions calculate jobs, they don't look at these jobs created. We promise that we'll give work to people, and people are happy, trust me. Although they bore the brunt of demonetization and initial doubts about GST, there has been a total consensus. You should ask the Congress spokesperson that why is criticizing the GST when they're part of the GST council.
Okay, the good news is that we're going to find out from the voters in the next few months. Salman, I'm asking for extra time, so briefly, please, in 20 seconds, your response.
You know, these statisticians resigned because they prepared a report and the government was not willing to get that report out, because we have a serious problem of unemployment, and the government can be in denial. We have a 45-year high of unemployment, according to this report which was leaked. Now, these guys, basically, these are statisticians. They're not politicians. So they do their work, and the government says, no, we will not let this come out. And of course, they resign because they are dignified people. Now, if it is the government's contention that there is job creation, then please let me ask you this. Just recently, the Railways Department has advertised 65,000 jobs. 26 million people applied for those jobs, including PhDs. These are just regular menial kind of jobs. 26 million people applying for 65,000 jobs. Does that sound to you that this is a great economy?
Okay, that's a good question.
One day before the budget, the government announced revised GDP data, and according to that revised GDP data, the Indian economy grew fastest at 8.2%, fastest in the last 5 years during the year of demonetization, when there was a cash crunch in the economy.
So listen, you posed an interesting question.
They say that we become data manipulators, and that is the damage that Mr. Modi has done to India and its reputation.
Okay, so Salman, you posed an interesting question. You know what? We're going to pick up on that question the next time we have this debate. This election's not going away anytime soon. We've got an interesting few months ahead. A country of over 1.3 billion people. As far as I understand, I think there's going to be about 1 million polling stations during this election. It's absolutely mammoth. It's more polling stations than some countries have populations. So, I mean, this is fascinating. And clearly the economy is a massive issue here. We're going to have you both back on the program. I'm looking forward to it. But for the moment, I do thank you, Salman Soz and Sudesh Verma. Thanks for joining us on the Newsmakers.